You've been told the problem is communication, that if you just express yourself better, stop overthinking, learn to be more secure, the relationship will work. But here's something nobody talks about. There is one specific pattern in anxiously attached people that does the opposite of everything it's supposed to do. It's designed to keep people close. It pushes them away. It's designed to prevent rejection. It makes rejection more likely. It's called people-pleasing. And if you have anxious attachment, there's a good chance it's quietly destroying your relationships. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why it happens, what it costs you that you haven't fully accounted for, and why the thing you think is keeping your relationship alive might be the thing that's killing it. Before we go further, if this is your first time here, I share relationship psychology research every week that most people never encounter. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you want to understand your own attachment style specifically, I put together a free attachment style quiz over at magneticchemistry.com. The link is in the description. Takes about 3 minutes. Now, let's get into this. You say yes when you mean no. You laugh at things that aren't funny. You cancel your own plans without being asked. You change your opinion in the middle of a conversation the moment you sense the other person disagrees. You minimize your needs, apologize for having feelings, and then wonder why you feel invisible in the relationship you've worked so hard to maintain. You've probably tried to stop. You've told yourself you're going to speak up next time, hold your ground, stop shrinking. And then the moment arrives, and something in you closes up. The word you plan to say doesn't come out. Instead, comes the version of you that keeps everyone comfortable, the version of you that you've started to resent. This is what people-pleasing actually feels like from the inside, not like a strategy, like survival. And the worst part? You do all of it out of something that feels like love. You tell yourself you're accommodating because you're caring, that you're keeping the peace because you're mature, that you're putting them first because that's what a good partner does. But underneath all of that, there's a terror you don't fully name. The terror that if you stop being exactly this easy to be with, they'll leave. And here's what's devastating. The more you do it, the more you need to do it. Because people-pleasing doesn't reduce the fear of abandonment. It feeds it. There's a reason for that. And it's not about communication skills. What's actually happening when you people-please isn't a choice. It's a survival response you learned before you had words for it. And understanding it changes everything about why breaking the pattern is so hard. Here's the framework that explains this. In attachment psychology, we talk about protest behaviors, the strategies anxiously attached people use when they sense a threat to the relationship. The classic ones people know are the obvious ones: texting too much, checking up, becoming clingy. But people-pleasing is also a protest behavior. It's just invisible. Researcher Philip Shaver at UC Davis calls this a hyperactivating strategy, turning up the connection-seeking dial so high that rejection becomes impossible. The logic, unconsciously, goes like this. If I make myself perfectly agreeable, perfectly low maintenance, perfectly worth keeping, there will be no reason to leave me. Here's what that actually creates. Meet Priya. She's 29, 8 months into a relationship that terrifies her in the best possible way. She's never felt this strongly about someone, which means she's also never been this afraid of losing someone. She doesn't complain, ever. She says yes to everything he suggests. She changes her dinner order when she senses he'd prefer somewhere else. She cancels plans with her friends when he mentions, just once, that he wished she was around more. She tells herself, this is love. But there's a ledger she doesn't know she's keeping. Because here's what people-pleasing costs you that you don't initially budget for: resentment. Resentment that builds quietly below the surface of every accommodation. Every yes that was really a no. Every laugh that was really a held breath. Every I don't mind that was really I mind deeply, but I'm too afraid to say so. When Priya's boyfriend cancels dinner to see his friends, just that, a normal thing, a thing he has every right to do. the anger that comes up surprises her. It's disproportionate. It doesn't match the situation, and she hates herself for feeling it. That resentment isn't the problem. It's data. It's the signal that she's been giving at a cost she pretended wasn't there. But there's something more important happening beneath the resentment. Something that explains why people-pleasing locks anxiously attached people in exactly the cycle they're trying to escape. People-pleasing prevents authentic connection. Research by Donnellan, Conger, and Bryant, a landmark study on personality traits in long-term couples, found that authentic self-disclosure predicts relationship longevity more reliably than agreeableness does. The couples who lasted weren't the ones who accommodated most. They were the ones who were known most. When you people please, your partner falls in love with a performance, not with you. And the most terrifying thing about that is, you know it. Deep down, you know it. Which means the fear of being seen and found lacking never goes away. It compounds. Because the relationship is built on a foundation that requires you to keep performing indefinitely or watch it collapse. There's a piece of neuroscience coming that explains exactly why this is so hard to stop, even when you can see it clearly. We're almost there. Quick question before we keep going. When you're in a relationship and feeling anxious, which sounds more like you, do you tend to withdraw, get quiet, and pull away? Or do you go the other direction, work harder, become more accommodating, try to make things better? Drop A for pull away, or B for work harder in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want to go deeper, I've written about this on the blog at magneticchemistry.com, link in the description. Now let's talk about the mechanism, because people-pleasing isn't just a habit or a personality trait. It has a name in trauma psychology. It's called the fawn response. You know, fight, flight, and freeze, the 3 survival responses the nervous system activates under threat. The fawn response is the 4th one, and it's the one most commonly developed by children who grew up with inconsistently available caregivers. When your caregiver was sometimes warm and sometimes cold, sometimes there and sometimes absent, emotionally or literally, your nervous system learned something. Protest doesn't work, and neither does withdrawal. What works is becoming exactly what they need you to be. You learned to read the room before you could read a sentence. You learned to monitor mood shifts, to shrink yourself when someone was irritable, to become more pleasant when the atmosphere felt threatening. You became very, very good at making yourself palatable. That skill saved something in you as a child. It kept connection alive when connection felt like oxygen. In adult relationships, it operates on autopilot, and it gets activated hardest precisely when you care most. Here's the research that makes this concrete. Neuroscience work by Mikulincer and Shaver at Bar Ilan University, among the most cited research in adult attachment, shows that anxiously attached people have measurably heightened amygdala activation in response to relational threat. The brain is not overreacting. It's responding exactly as it was trained to, which means when your partner goes quiet, or seems distracted, or changes their tone slightly, your threat response fires before your rational mind can assess whether the threat is real. And people-pleasing is the fastest way your nervous system knows to neutralize that threat. The problem isn't that the strategy doesn't work in the moment. It does. Accommodating someone who seems distant often does bring them closer temporarily. That's why the pattern is so sticky. The nervous system gets a reward. But what also happens, what research consistently documents, is that people-pleasing erodes your own sense of self over time. The self you're suppressing to keep the relationship together is the self your partner would need to actually know you. Remember the question I asked at the beginning? Why does trying harder to be the perfect partner make you more afraid of losing them? Not less. We're about to answer it, because the answer explains everything. Here's a moment worth sitting with. Same Priya, but a different night. She's exhausted. Her work week was brutal. She wanted to stay home. And when her boyfriend asks if she wants to go to this party, something in her does something new. She says, honestly, I'm really drained. I'd rather stay in, but I don't want to hold you back. She expects the fear to spike. Instead, something unfamiliar happens. He looks at her, actually looks at her, and says, I didn't know you felt that way. Let's stay in. That moment costs her less than 8 months of accommodation did. And it gives her something none of those 8 months gave her, the experience of being known and still wanted. That's the thing people-pleasing robs you of, not just peace, evidence, the lived experience of being your actual self in a relationship and surviving it. Without that evidence, the fear never updates. So here's the reframe that changes everything about this. People-pleasing doesn't feel like a strategy to someone with anxious attachment. It feels like love. It feels like choosing the relationship over your ego. And in some ways, it is love. The only version your nervous system knows how to offer when it's operating from fear. But authentic love requires someone to love. If you've disappeared into accommodation, there's no one there for your partner to love or to stay for. The security you're trying to build through pleasing can only actually be built by being seen, fully, imperfectly. And the surprising thing is, that's actually less frightening than it sounds. Because the moment you stop performing and someone stays, you finally have real evidence that the relationship is real. The question isn't whether people-pleasing was your fault. It wasn't. It was a strategy your nervous system invented to protect you from something that felt unbearable. The question is whether you're ready to let someone meet the person beneath the performance. If you want to understand your specific attachment pattern, the specific behaviors, the specific triggers, the specific ways your attachment shows up in relationships, I've built a free attachment style quiz at magneticchemistry.com. It takes about 3 minutes. It's completely free, and it gives you a personalized breakdown of your results. Not just you're anxiously attached, but what's actually driving your responses. The link is in the description. Next video in this series, there's a specific kind of partner that keeps showing up for anxiously attached people. Someone who seems secure at first, pulls back just enough, and leaves you more anxious than you started. That video covers what research actually shows about why anxious and avoidant people keep finding each other. Don't miss it.